Bonjour! Welcome to Rambo Loves History. I am your favorite French bulldog that takes you through mind-blowing history with style. Welcome back to Rambo Loves History. What if I told you there's a place in modern Europe where children still grow up learning which streets they can't walk down based on their religion? Where walls divide neighborhoods not by choice but by necessity, where a question as simple as "what school did you go to" can reveal whether you're friend or potential enemy. This is Northern Ireland, where over 3,600 people died in a conflict that technically ended 26 years ago, yet the peace walls still stand. I'm Rambo, and as a French bulldog, I know something about stubborn determination. But Northern Ireland? This place takes it to another level. Today we're diving into one of Europe's most misunderstood conflicts, a story that begins not with bombs in the 1960s but with a decision made in 1609 that still echoes through Belfast's streets today. Our story starts with King James I of England, who had a problem. Ireland, Catholic, rebellious Ireland, refused to bend the knee to Protestant rule. But James didn't just want to conquer Ireland, he wanted to transform it completely. The Plantation of Ulster was social engineering on a massive scale. James took the most rebellious province and planted it with loyal Protestant settlers from Scotland and England. Entire communities were shipped across the Irish Sea and given the best farmland in Ulster. The native Irish Catholics who'd lived on this land for over 1,000 years were pushed to the margins, relegated to boglands and hills. In counties like Antrim and Down, the transformation was almost total. Within a generation, the population flipped from Catholic to Protestant. But here's what the English hadn't counted on. The Irish have very long memories. The dispossessed Catholics didn't disappear. They remembered which fields had belonged to their fathers, which castles their ancestors had built, and they waited. The year 1641 brought the explosion everyone should have seen coming. Led by Phelim O'Neill, Ulster's Catholics rose in bloody rebellion. What followed wasn't war, it was neighbors turning against neighbors. At Portadown, Protestant settlers were forced off a bridge into the River Bann. Those who tried to swim were shot. Thousands died. The Protestant response was merciless. Oliver Cromwell arrived in 1649 with the most professional army in Europe and a determination to crush Catholic resistance forever. His campaign was genocidal. At Drogheda and Wexford, he massacred not just soldiers but civilians. Men, women, children. By the time he finished, Ireland's Catholic population had been reduced by a third through war, famine, and deportation. Now here's where the pattern gets locked in. Even Cromwell couldn't kill an idea. Catholics who survived remembered the massacres. Protestants remembered 1641 and lived in constant fear of another uprising. Both communities told their children stories of what the other side had done, passing down grievances like family heirlooms. When Catholic King James II was overthrown in 1688, Ireland erupted again. The Protestant victory at the Battle of the Boyne in 1690 is still celebrated every July 12th. Orange Order marches, drums beating, reminding everyone that Ulster is Protestant. By the 19th century, something curious happened. The 6 counties that would become Northern Ireland industrialized in a way the rest of Ireland hadn't. Belfast became the linen capital of the world. Its shipyards built the Titanic. Its factories hummed with prosperity. The Protestant majority controlled this wealth, while Catholics remained largely excluded from better jobs, better neighborhoods, better schools. When the rest of Ireland began fighting for independence in the early 1900s, Ulster's Protestants were terrified. They'd seen what happened to Protestant minorities elsewhere in Ireland. Marginalized, their influence diminished. Home rule means Rome rule, they declared. They would rather die than be governed by a Catholic parliament in Dublin. Both sides armed themselves. The Ulster Volunteer Force prepared to resist incorporation into Catholic Ireland. The Irish Volunteers prepared to fight for independence. By 1914, Ireland stood on the brink of civil war. Only World War I postponed the reckoning. But wait until you see how they tried to solve this. When the reckoning came in 1920, the solution was partition. The island would be split. 26 counties would become the Irish Free State. 6 counties, Antrim, Armagh, Down, Fermanagh, Londonderry, and Tyrone, would remain part of the United Kingdom as Northern Ireland. The border was drawn to ensure a Protestant majority, but it trapped a substantial Catholic minority, about a third of the population, in a state they'd never wanted. What followed wasn't peace, but a frozen conflict. Northern Ireland became a Protestant state for a Protestant people. As its first prime minister openly declared, Catholics faced systematic discrimination in employment, housing, and voting. The police force was overwhelmingly Protestant. Local government was gerrymandered to ensure Protestant control even in Catholic-majority areas. For 40 years, most Catholics chose grudging acceptance. But by the 1960s, a new generation inspired by America's civil rights movement decided they'd waited long enough. The Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association began organizing peaceful marches demanding equal treatment. One man, one vote, fair housing allocation, an end to job discrimination, modest demands. But to many Protestants, this looked like the first step toward a united Ireland that would strip them of their privileged position. On October 5, 1968, television cameras captured police batoning peaceful marchers in Derry. The images shocked the world and radicalized a generation of young Catholics. The provisional IRA, virtually defunct, suddenly flooded with new recruits. Protestant paramilitaries like the Ulster Volunteer Force responded in kind. The troubles had begun, and here's where it gets truly brutal. What followed was 30 years of urban guerrilla warfare. The IRA perfected the car bomb, turning ordinary vehicles into weapons of mass destruction. Protestant paramilitaries pioneered random sectarian assassination. Any Catholic would do. The British Army, originally sent to protect Catholics from Protestant mobs, became the enemy of both communities. Belfast and Derry became divided cities with peace walls separating neighborhoods. The violence wasn't confined to Northern Ireland. The IRA bombed pubs in Birmingham, shops in London, hotels in Brighton. Protestant paramilitaries, with collusion from elements within security forces, operated death squads targeting not just IRA members but Catholic civilians. Tit-for-tat killings became so common they barely made the news. But here's what outsiders often missed. Most people just wanted to live their lives in peace. They sent their children to school, went to work, tried to maintain normalcy while mayhem raged around them. The real tragedy wasn't just the death toll, but how violence poisoned everyday life. You watched what you said, where you went, who you associated with. Trust became a luxury few could afford. By the 1990s, exhaustion had set in. The IRA realized they couldn't bomb Northern Ireland out of the UK. The British government accepted they couldn't militarily defeat the IRA. The Cold War had ended and the world had little patience left for tribal warfare. The Good Friday Agreement of 1998 wasn't a victory for anyone but an acknowledgement of stalemate. Northern Ireland would remain part of the United Kingdom for as long as the majority wanted it, with guaranteed rights for Catholics and close ties to the Republic. Paramilitary prisoners would be released, weapons decommissioned, power shared between Unionists and Nationalists. It wasn't perfect. How could it be? You can't erase 4 centuries of hatred with a signature. The peace walls still stand. Children still attend segregated schools. Every summer tensions rise during Orange Order marches. But the bombs have stopped. The assassinations have ended. A generation has grown up without daily fear of violence. Today, Northern Ireland faces a new challenge. Demographics are shifting. Catholics now make up nearly half the population and may soon be the majority. Brexit has complicated the border with the Republic, raising questions about Northern Ireland's future in the UK. Some predict a united Ireland within our lifetimes. Others insist it will remain British forever. The same fundamental question that sparked the Troubles remains unanswered. Can two peoples with incompatible national identities share the same small piece of land? Northern Ireland's fragile peace proves it's possible, but only just. The past is never really past here. It lives on in murals on walls, flags on lampposts, separate schools and sports clubs, the very names people call their home. Northern Ireland or the north of Ireland, Derry or Londonderry. Here's the thing that gets me, though. Despite all this violence, Northern Ireland has produced Nobel laureates like Seamus Heaney, musicians like Van Morrison, actors like Liam Neeson, as if the intensity of conflict compressed human potential into diamonds of excellence. The story of Northern Ireland is far from over. We may be living through one of its most crucial chapters right now. Will the next generation finally break the cycle, or are they doomed to repeat it? Can a society truly heal from centuries of division, or are some wounds simply too deep? If this story fascinated you, you need to see how another religious conflict tore Europe apart for 30 years and killed 8 million people. The 30 Years' War makes Northern Ireland look like a warm-up. Click that video now and subscribe so you never miss history with Rambo.